everyone. Thank you for joining me today for the Kingdom Podcast. I have a very special guest with me today who I've actually got to meet in person. Dr. Ming Wang is with us. I'm just so thankful that he's here. He's got a lot of things going. He has a PhD, he has an MD, he has a movie. He's a Renaissance man. Uh, and he's inventive. He's got a lot of things, but we're going to talk about a few of those things today. Dr. Wang, thank you, sir, so much for being with us today on the Kingdom Podcast.
Thank you, Pastor Hood. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, sir. One of the things that is so unique in your story, in the movie that we got to watch, the movie's called Sight, by the way. For those that are watching, I'd encourage you to go see it. Is that you grew up in the culture revolution in China, which we got a little bit of that history in America. I got some more of that history when I watched your movie. But can you tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in that culture? And also, here's a loaded question. Do you see any of that happening today in America?
Great question. Particularly last part is very relevant. And I do see that in many ways it's happening here in America today. You live in Franklin, I'm in Nashville, so we're very close. And
Yes.
I have a vision center called Wang Vision Institute. We help patients from around the world for vision problems. And also, as the movie Sight depicts, we also have a nonprofit arm and the nonprofit organization Wang Foundation for sight restoration to help blind orphan children from around the world. I have come to realize that, Pastor Hood, is that the people who appreciate sight the most, because I spend every day taking care of people's vision, are those who used to not be able to see. So people who appreciate freedom the most are those who used to not have freedom.
Wow.
So my life growing up in China during Cultural Revolution is a life that without freedom. And the movie Sight is about reminding all of us here in America how blessed we are living in America with freedom and faith, and how much we need to appreciate by being more willing to work together to restore America to its original definition of Bible and the Constitution.
Yes.
So I grew up in China during Cultural Revolution, when from 1966 to 76, the government shut down all universities and colleges of entire China, and forcefully deported every single high school graduate to some of the poorest part of the country and condemn each one of us a life sentence of hard labor and poverty.
Wow.
So over 20 years of Cultural Revolution, by shutting down all universities and colleges of entire China, they sent away to labor camp 20 million young people. So as film Sight depicts, by the way, film Sight is distributed by Angel Studio, which has distributed The Chosen, The Bible Story, The Sound of Freedom last year, and this year they have distributed Sight. So it's in streaming now. One can see it at angel.com/sight, SIGHT. So I grew up during that time, Cultural Revolution in China. So at age 14 in 1974, I was not allowed to go to senior high school. I was going to be sent away to labor camp for life, just like 20 million others. In order to avoid this devastating fate of being sent away to labor camp, I picked up a Chinese music instrument named erhu, ERHU, Chinese violin, and I learned how to dance. Because if I could do these things, government may exempt me from sending me away to labor camp, but allowing me to stay in the cities, because government still needed musicians and dancers for its propaganda troop. But that little plan didn't work, so I was still going to be sent away to labor camp. Then 1976 came, Cultural Revolution ended. Then I got a chance to apply for college, but I practically have to jump 3 years ahead because I did not attend the senior high, 10th, 11th, 12th. But my parents helped me. I worked very hard. So in 1978, I got into University of Science and Technology in China to study laser physics, chemical physics. Then in 1982, with $50 borrowed from a visiting American professor with a Chinese English dictionary, knowing no one in this country, could hardly speak in English, I came to America at age 21. Even though, Pastor Hood, I was penniless, I was poor when I came to America, but I was happy. Why? I was free.
Wow. That's absolutely amazing. We in America take freedom for granted quite a bit. And we forget that freedom isn't free. It costs the lives of people to secure that freedom and also to retain that freedom. What are some things, Dr. Wang, that you see in the American culture that should be warning signs to everybody that can see them that we're headed down the wrong path in exiting our freedom?
Great question. It's easy for a human being to accept things free.
Yeah.
And but there's something more precious than things free is freedom.
Oh, yes.
And what I'm seeing, what's happening in America, where government sometimes they give you something, but in return, imperceptibly to average citizen, they're taking away your control of your life.
Wow.
And sometimes you say, why, we're not stupid as people, we recognize that. Well, sometimes it's hard to recognize when the process of deprivation of freedom takes place over a long period of time and gradually. Just like if you, a chicken in the pot being cooked, if the temperature increases very slowly, you don't feel it.
Yeah.
But when you realized it's too late.
Yeah.
And, especially young people in America, young Americans, they have no idea what it's like to living under communism.
Wow.
And so through film site, I want to send this message to America. I want young people to see a film like this. And the message is, America, do not go there. We as human beings, Pastor Hood, we learn from experience. It's hard to learn by being taught. When I was a kid, mommy and daddy said, "Ming, don't do that." Guess what? I just wanted to do that. So it's hard to learn being taught, but we learn that we have to experience that. So how
Yes.
can we make our young people in America experience how bad it is under communism? Sight, the movie, is attempt to do a little bit of that, trying to tell them a story,
Yes.
to let them feel through the story of a young person who was at their age then struggled and going through hardship under socialism, communism, and hopefully will wake young people up here in America to recognize that it is time to
Yes.
recognize what America is all about. It's about freedom and faith. Freedom established upon our Constitution and faith upon Bible. That's
Yes.
restore America to its original definition.
Yes. I think that the twofold thing that you just touched on there, Doc, is that that Constitution piece is they're trying to steal it and change it. So there could be a shock factor that would be needed to keep this in right order. But the latter that you mentioned, Jesus, the Bible, our faith in God, I think a revival and a moving of the Spirit of the Lord could really solve a lot of problems for our nation. And I believe that we're coming into a place to where we can see that. I can just feel it in my spirit that we're ripe for a revival and for an awakening, not just a church service, but for a move of the Spirit of God across our nation. like we saw at the Revolutionary War, which we call that the First Great Awakening that happened simultaneously. And then during the Civil War, there was a second Great Awakening. And now I think we're in a revolutionary Civil War, and we're in a prime place for a third Great Awakening. And so I believe that you're right. We must put our faith in God. When you were in China, you were not a believer, from what I understand. And when you came to America, you became a believer. Could you share with us a little bit about what it was like under a government that didn't allow Christianity, which the trend in America is trying to go that way? And then what did it mean to you, and how did you discover the love of Jesus Christ and Him becoming your Lord and your Savior? Share with us a little bit about that.
Sure. Pastor Hood, you might have seen this Christian film called God's Not Dead
Yeah.
years ago. In that movie, it's the conversion story of several individuals. And in that movie, the Chinese student who came from mainland China as an atheist, who eventually found Christ in America, who at the end of the film, God's Not Dead, stood up in a classroom, declared, God is not dead. And that Chinese student is inspired by my life story.
Wow.
I was that student, Chinese student in the movie God's Not Dead. So just like that student, I came to America as an atheist. I fought so hard during Cultural Revolution in China, trying to have an opportunity to study science. When I came to America, I was not interested in anything else except science. And so here's the interesting thing. I got a PhD in laser physics, and then I gone on to get my second doctorate degree, this time in medicine, an MD, because I want to be a unique laser eye surgeon who knows not just medicine, but also the technology.
Wow.
Then it was in the study of medicine, or specifically ophthalmology, at Harvard Medical School in Boston, where my atheist worldview got into crisis. Because I was studying the structure of human eye, and I realized that it is so complex that it's simply not possible that I could evolve from randomness. So I kept on asking a professor this question. Eventually, he turned out to be a Christian, but he did not tell me at the time. He just had me asking him all the questions. So he one day took me out for lunch. He said, Ming, what's across street? I looked at it. I said, that's a car. He said, what's the difference between a human eye and a car? I said, oh, human eye is a lot more complicated. He said, okay. Can you imagine a pile of random pieces of metal assemble itself into a car on the street? I said, no way. He said, how about human eye? At that moment, that was my aha moment. At that moment, he opened a window in my life. I realized that the reason the human eye being so complicated, but yet conform nearly flawlessly most of the time, because most of us are born, we could see, is because it does not form out of randomness. It is a form with a purpose, and that purpose is vision. And there's a designer behind it.
Yes.
So I made my tentative step towards the notion that there's a creator. But then it took a lot longer time. And one pivotal event after that was, as you see in the film, I dedicated myself to helping blind orphaned children.
Yes.
And through our foundation. And sometimes people say, I mean, why you spend so much time doing helping these blind orphan children? And my answer is very simple. I said, I used to be in darkness myself during Cultural Revolution, have no future. So when I see a kid in darkness today, I feel their pain and I can relate to them and I want to help them. So as you see in the film, I was trying to help this 5-year-old orphan, Kajal. She was an orphan living near Calcutta, India, when one night her stepmother poured sulfuric acid into her both her
Wow.
eyes, trying to make her a blind orphan child who would then sing on the streets, who would get more money from tourists. So Kajal was maliciously blinded, and then she was found to have no talent of singing. She couldn't sing. That's why she was abandoned. So we found her in a train station near Calcutta, India, almost died from starvation. We brought her to America, and the film Sight is about Kajol's remarkable journey trying to come from darkness to light. So in that process, I realized that I look at Kajol's eye, her eyes are completely scarred up, all injured. She could not see at all. And I realized that the only type of person who does not scar is an unborn child. But how can you help an unborn child? How can you do research on a fetus so that we can help our patients with injuries without hurting the life of a baby? You know, they say there's no common ground between faith and science. Is that really true? So I was in my journey becoming a Christian. So I asked God, I said, God, is there a common ground between science and faith? If you do exist, and if you do believe science and faith should work together, show me the way. In the scripture, James 1:4 says, perseverance completes you.
Yeah.
So in many of my prayers that God was telling me, persevere, don't give up, there's a way. And in one of my prayers, then I was working with other scientists at the time as well, and an idea came. That is, perhaps the reason an unborn child can heal without scar is because the amniotic membrane surrounds an unborn child before birth. And at the time of birth, we lose that membrane protection, and that's why we start scarring. So I went to hospitals and asked mothers to donate the placenta after they're giving birth to children. And they say, oh, young man, we don't need that placenta after my kid is born. You can have it.
Take it.
I brought a bloody placenta every day from the hospital to the laboratory at night. And I started doing research, peeling out this amniotic membrane that used to surround all of us before birth. And my thinking is God maybe want me to do research on that membrane because you can that way is a way to do fetal research without hurting the baby because the placenta is always discarded. And to discover the secret of scarless healing. Eventually, I invented the amniotic membrane contact lens. And I got 2 patents. And then I asked myself, when we put this amniotic membrane contact lens onto injured patient's eyes, indeed, miracle happened. The scar is much reduced, sight is restored. Then I asked myself this question. As a Christian and a scientist, I said, did I really invent the amniotic membrane contact lens? I concluded no, because I did not invent the placenta. I did not invent the amniotic membrane. God did. As a scientist, I was just very privileged to be given by God the rare glimpse of part of his original creation.
Wow. Yes.
So all it belongs to him. So what I decided to do is something that most of my friends thought it was stupid. I donate the patent to the world. I put my patent online, and I went around the world in about over 20-year period of time, and to about 50 some countries, and taught over 10,000 eye doctors. Free of charge, my teaching. Teach them how to use the technology. So today, as you see in the film Sight, amniotic membrane contact lens is now being used by nearly eye doctors from nearly every nation, and millions of patients have had eyesight restored. And it's a $5 billion industry today. Even though some of my friends saying, oh, Ming, you're stupid. You did not make any money at all yourself in the process. My answer is, no, I'm not stupid. Because for 2 reasons. One, it's God's calling to me. I went to school for 31 years, 2 doctorate degrees, 1 a PhD in laser physics, 1 MD from Harvard and MIT. God wanted me to do something special beyond what I normally do. So I'm answering God's calling to help those who need the most help, which are blind orphan children. So it's God's calling for me to donate, to share what I have. But also, as an immigrant who not only appreciate faith that I found in this country, I also appreciate the freedom that I found in America.
Wow.
So as an immigrant, we all have the obligation to pay back. That America has given me so much freedom and faith.
Amazing.
I should not take for granted. I want to pay back and help America, help restore America to its greatness as in the past. So my donation of my patent to the world, amniotic membrane contact lens, is my little way of paying back.
Wow, this is it moves me in my heart. I'm a descendant of the second and the sixth president of the United States, John Adams, and his son John Quincy, and
Wow,
so direct line,
wow,
and
honor,
yes, oh, it's to me, it's something that I take as more than just an honor. For me, it's a responsibility, because those guys spent their lives and their fortunes helping establish this country. And their fathers, grandfathers were immigrants into this country. This country was founded by immigrants, and I think God's doing something very supernatural and very amazing to me, that He's bringing immigrants into this country like yourself and like others to help restore our nation back to what God originally intended for America to be. She doesn't look like what God intended for her to be at this moment, but people like you and others that I've met, I've interviewed a lady from Iran who was in political prison, and some others, that God is just using them amazingly to bring technology, to bring inventions, to bring in their testimonies of persecution in their homelands, in their birth countries, to touch our hearts so that all of us together can say, America is worth saving. We've been given rather a gift by God in this nation. And through this nation, God has given many gifts to the world. And so, Doc, I want to just say thank you right off for all that you've contributed to America, all that you have believed in for this country, and allowing Holy Spirit to use you to be a voice of freedom and to be a voice of healing for this nation. Which brings me to my next question. This movie that you have done with Angel Studios, the message of that movie, like you said, is freedom, but it's not just out of darkness from not being able to see. It's out of darkness from several different areas. When I watched this movie, it just stirred me so much. Darkness out of political bondage, and darkness out of selfishness. And it was amazing for me and my wife, as we said in your movie, to be able to grab that. To be honest, I consider myself a pretty manly man, but there were parts of that movie that did make me cry, and because it touched me so much in my heart. How can people go see Sight now? And tell us a little bit about your foundation. I want people to support you. I want people to be able to give into this foundation. My wife and I did. We bought movie tickets for 100 people, and we're hoping that they will be able to see that around the nation in different ways, forms, and fashions. But I think this is important for people to see and have opportunities to give into a foundation like you have. It's very unique. It's very spiritual, but also it's very practical in the sense of it's touching humanity. It's not just trying to touch God, but it's letting God through it touch humanity. So tell us how we can see it, how people can give into your foundation, and how that can help affect people around the world.
Mm. Thank you, Pastor Hood. First of all, thank you so much personally for having bought these tickets and having brought these friends to see the film Sight. In the Angel Studio released a film called Sound of Freedom last year.
Yeah.
And the message is those kids are worth saving.
Yes.
So as you just mentioned a moment ago, Sight, the film the Angel Studio is distributing this year, has a similar purpose, a message that is America is worth saving.
Yes.
So Sight is about saving our nation. Sight is about bring in a perspective of what is like if we do not stand up for our freedom and faith.
Yes, sir.
What the consequence it might be. So it's important. Wake up, America. And as in the background, you see regarding the film side, you see the background is the Greg Kinnear, who starred in this film with Terry Chan. And the side movie is based on my autobiography, which I have a copy here. It's called From Darkness to Sight, and
It's a
it's
great
about.
book.
Thank you. It's called From Darkness to Sight for two reasons. One is it's the remarkable journey of some of these patients, blind orphan children, their journey from darkness to sight physically, but also at the same time how the courage and determination of these patients, these kids, have also helped me, their eye doctor, to come from my own darkness to light spiritually.
Wow.
So in terms of how to help this foundation, our foundation is called Wang Foundation for Sight Restoration. And the website is very easy, just wangfoundation.com. So if one visits wangfoundation.com, there's a little donate button, and all the fund are used to help these blind orphan children, even though medical procedures for them are all free. However,
Hmm.
like Kajal, there are costs of transportation, schooling, lodging, and all that. So we use these funds to non-medical purposes to help these blind orphan children. And also, if one donates to the foundation, again, by visiting wangfoundation.com, I will send a copy of autographed autobiography From Darkness to Sight, based on which the film Sight is made, as an appreciation. Actually, I have a side movie Bible study written up.
Oh,
And yeah, so
wow.
people can watch the film, and then they can follow up with 5 Sunday school studies about the Christian message of the film. By the way, Sight has won one of the biggest Christian film awards in 2023, ICVM International Christian Film Award. And so
Wow.
the movie Bible study, you can also request copy for it when you donate to the Wang Foundation. And movie is called Sight. So it's about seeing beyond. It's not just an immigrant story, it's our story. It's not just a message for immigrant or Asian Americans, it's a message for
Amen.
all of us here in America, how to see beyond our pain, as you see in Kajol in the movie, to see beyond our circumstance, as you see my
Wow.
parents who saw beyond circumstance as a time during Cultural Revolution, believe there's a better tomorrow for their kids, to see beyond ourselves. The movie's message at the end you saw is that I finally realized that we as human beings, we are ultimately limited. We have to be
Yeah.
willing to ask for help from God. To see beyond our own culture, we need to recognize that
Yes.
America is a country with people with different ethnicities, race, and nationalities. And finally, is to see beyond our polarization,
Yeah.
because to find a common ground. Because we need to recognize, in order to restore America, we have to recognize that it doesn't matter one is Asian or Latino, African
Yes.
American, white, and nationality, ethnicity. But we, especially for all the Christians, we all have the ultimate common ground, which is Jesus Christ.
Yes.
So it is that realization that that we do have the ultimate common ground in Jesus Christ. That's why we need to overcome our polarization and find that common ground. You know, I even also with my pastor, Dr. Rice Books, we wrote another Bible study called Common Ground Bible Study, which you can also get a copy of when you donate to the foundation. And we realized that it's God's calling to all of us as Christians to be common ground seekers. And
Yes.
not only that, God actually demonstrates throughout the stories in the Bible how to find the common ground. That in the Bible we have so many examples that Christ did not want to dine with those high priests, but he rather spent time with people in the lowest rung of society. And when you
Yes.
ask Christ a question, he often does not answer directly. He will tell you a story, a parable, and
Yes.
he wants you to figure out what the message or his answer yourself. So I think it's so important, to change America. We have to change the middle part of America, the
Yes.
80% in the middle. And we have to, in order to influence them, we have to first and foremost develop the skill set, how to find
Yes.
a common ground.
Yes.
Common ground is not a compromise. Common ground is the seeking of truth. Common ground is not the end. The common ground is the beginning, the first step. And only by finding that common ground with a person who has different lifestyle, different political viewpoints, different thing, the outlook to the life, but rather than criticize them, putting them down, people's ego get hurt, they will never listen to you, is to recognize what's important to that person, to speak
Yes.
the language of listener. So
Wow.
Common Ground Bible Study tells us what did Christ do and how he wants us to find a common ground. And the Side Movie Bible Study tells the Christian messages in the movie about ultimately seeing beyond ourselves, beyond our polarization, to find that common ground.
That's amazing. You said something that is very powerful there, or many things, but one of them was we need to learn the language of a listener.
Yes.
And that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. My wife will hear this, and then she'll tell me, "You need to learn the language of a listener."
That's right. Actually, yes, my wife sometimes tell me today, you talk about it, you need to behave that way as well. But I learned doctorhood very interesting from practicing medicine. When I was young, starting out a young doctor resident, I saw many doctors, their skill sets were very good. The technically very good, but their patients not as happy. So I kept on observing why during my residency, and I realized something. Doctors, most of them, we behave habitually. We speak language as speaker. We have the experience. You make an appointment to see doctor, put in a book, you wait for a month, and finally you take off from work, you go to the clinic, you wait. Finally, they put you in a room, you wait. Finally, doctor comes in like a wind. He or she comes in, throws down a bunch of medical jargons, and left before you realize anything. And the nurse, Nancy, follow up. That's it. Then you say, Doc, did you hear me? What I was saying that I was not saying, I was, vision problem. Do you know what I'm not seeing, and do you care? So
Yeah.
from very early on, in the beginning of my career, I realized that in order to be a good doctor, here's the thing, that if I want to help you, has the hood about your vision, guess what? I have to listen to you. I have to speak your language, because you are the number one authority on
Yeah.
the planet in terms of describing your vision problem, because you're the only person who's seeing through their pair of eyes of yours. So I have to listen to you. I develop sets of technologies to simulate that what you're seeing, to look at the world from your eyes. So
Yeah.
speak the language, listener, is something I learned through practice of medicine, practice of ophthalmology. So all my career, I always spend time listening to my patients, recognizing they are the ultimate authority in describing what they are seeing or seeing. At the end, it's not what I think is most important is important, is what my patients feel what's most important is most important. For example, I
Yes.
pray with all of my patients, my entire career. I've done about 55,000 laser vision corrections, including on over 4,000 doctors. Every single one of them,
Wow.
I pray with them before surgery, even those non-Christians. People say, "Oh, non-Christian will be mad. If they pray that Christian and non-Christians have no common ground." No, I realize that actually we do have common ground, because I asked many of them after the day after surgery. I said, "Were you offended? Yesterday I prayed for you because you're not Christian." And some from my non-Christian patients, and what they told me stayed in my mind to this day. They say, "Dr. Wang, yesterday I was nervous underneath your laser. You did come to my ear and say, Johnny, it's okay. I pray with you. Honestly, I was nervous under your surgical laser. I didn't dare to say no." I said, "Oh, yeah, I kind of took advantage of the situation. I know, sorry, but I did want to know whether that you were offended or not. That's my main question, right?" So they say, "No, not only I was not offended, Dr. Wang, I was moved." I said, "How could you be moved when I pray to my Christ that you do not believe?" And again, what they say to me to stay to this day. That's the common ground between Christians and non-Christians. That is, they say, "Dr. Wang, not only the reason I was moved when you pray for me to your Christ, that even though I'm not a Christian, is because in one of my most important moments in my life, which is my eye surgery, I don't want anything to go wrong. I could be blind if something's going wrong. So that's one of my most important moments in my life. You brought something that is most important to you, your
That's
Christ."
amazing.
And I appreciate that. So at that moment, I realized that the ultimate common ground the love for fellow human being transcends the boundary of faith or religion. The ultimate common
Yes.
ground is our love for fellow human being. If we recognize that as Christians, that the need to see from others' perspective, if we recognize the need to speak the language of listener,
Yeah.
this is a historical opportunity in a divided nation that we as Christians utilize our ultimate weapon, which is a belief in Jesus Christ. Emulate
Yeah.
do what Christ did. We become exemplary common ground seekers rather than some of the Christians today. They're some of the worst polarizers. No, that's the wrong way. When the nation
Yeah.
is going the wrong pathway of polarization, we travel the road less traveled, bring our nation together.
Yes. That's good preaching. You might ought to be a preacher as well, brother. That's awesome.
That's me, my medicine, I think.
You might need to put a THD next to your PhD and your MD. That's good theology. I want to close with this. My wife and I were on a webinar that you do. Is that something that you would want the public to know about?
Yes.
To be able to get on that webinar. And my wife has actually come for a consultation at your clinic and is in the process of seeing what would be best for her to get her sight corrected. So tell us just in closing a few minutes about that seminar and how people can get on that to become a patient of the greatest eye doctor in the nation.
The greatest eye doctor in my home.
In your home.
Yeah. So what I want to say is in 2024, everybody, the life is so exciting. We have finally conquered all 5 human prescription conditions: nearsightedness, farsightedness, astigmatism, presbyopia, the reading glasses need, and the cataract for patients from age 18 to 107. So if you want to learn how we can help you to get rid of your distance glasses, or your reading glasses, or your cataract, or your dry eyes, that eyes get drier. Incidentally, Pastor Hood, the amniotic membrane contact lens, which I developed in the film Sight, is now the most powerful treatment for aging eyes, the dry eyes.
Wow. Wow.
And so if anybody's interested, they can visit Wang Foundation. WangVisionInstitute.com. So our foundation is WangFoundation.com, but the vision procedure is WangVisionInstitute.com. And every Tuesday, 6:45 Central Time or 7:45 Eastern Time, we give a 1-hour free vision Zoom. We talk about all these latest technologies that I would welcome all of you to attend. And the way to attend is simply by visiting my website, which is drmingwang.com, drmingwang.com. Every Tuesday, 6:45 p.m. Central Time, our vision Zoom.
I've been on that Zoom and it was incredibly informative. And the doctor that came on after that was actually the doctor that sat with Joanne and myself when we came for the consultation. So I want to encourage everybody that's wearing glasses or you've got trouble with your eyes, go and be a part of this seminar. You will learn a lot. And I believe it will also open a door for you to be able to get your eyes corrected. And Doc, thank you so much for being with us on the Kingdom Podcast today. I hope that maybe Joanne and I can buy you and your wife dinner one night very soon, since we're in the same area and have some good fellowship. And
I would love
thank
to.
you.
I would love to. In fact, I will talk to my wife, whom you saw in the film Sight. That's how I met her, in the Wasabi guys. I would love to. In fact, if you don't mind, I will find some dates and send it to you, and you and Joanne pick one, and we'll take you some Chinese or Japanese or something.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, or maybe we can get Joanne to cook some Filipino food.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Thank you so much. And we want everybody to know the film Sight is in streaming now by visiting angel.com/sight, SIG.
Yes.
And I think for like $12 or something, you can see Sight, you can see Sound of Freedom, you can see The Chosen, all of the film at the NG Studio platform, all of them for $12. So it's really a great streaming platform, and you're supporting a movie site, just like Sound of Freedom is children are worth saving. Site is
Yes.
about America is worth saving.
Amen. Amen. I agree. Go watch the movie, people. Go to the webinar, to the foundation site. There's a lot of amazing things you can partner with here. Thank you, Doctor. I really appreciate it, sir. And I look forward to talking to you and seeing you in the future.